Hello, I'm Matthias Anderson. My first job out of university was writing code in Microsoft Office, and I then went on to be involved in software development process and leadership, security, architecture, and cloud. That eventually brought me to A Cloud Guru and Pluralsight, where I've had further opportunities to help many people learn and take better advantage of technology. Now, one of the things I particularly love about today's event is that the theme is inspire. I hope that I can encourage and inspire you to help your customers help their customers. So let's jump in. I want to start with the abstract for this talk. Now, I didn't originally write this myself, actually. I believe we have Drew Fearmont to thank for it, but when I read it, it felt dramatic and it inspired me. So let me try to do it justice. In this era of cloud boom, there is a huge opportunity for organizations to adopt agile practices, to effectively leverage technology and react quickly to customer needs. When it comes to the cloud, it's no longer the big eating the small, but the fast eating the slow. Matthias Anderson, Senior Developer Advocate at Pluralsight, shares tips and insights on how to maximize your investment in the cloud and ensure you deliver the highest value for your customers. Okay, maybe that was a little over dramatic, I don't know. But okay, my key takeaways are these: huge opportunity, agile practices, quick reaction to customer needs, value in being fast, not big, and deliver high value for customers. Now the first one, huge opportunity, is more of an amplifier, but all the rest of these points revolve around one thing: agile. So I ask you, what does it mean to be agile? Or maybe I should ask, what does it mean to be agile? If you aren't seeing my slide here, I'm just asking that same question twice, but once with a lowercase a agile and once with uppercase a agile. Some people feel strongly that these are different things, while others don't. Lowercase a agile generally refers to the property of agility, meaning the ability to move quickly and easily. And uppercase a agile generally refers to agile software development practices. But I want us all to be on the same page, so I'm going to back up a bit to the basics, to the definition of uppercase A agile. A lot of people's only experience with agile methodologies is Scrum, and although the 13-page Scrum guide is actually quite readable, it surprises a lot of people to learn that the entire original manifesto for agile software development takes less than 30 seconds to read. Feel free to time me if you'd like. It says, "We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. That is, while there is value on the items on the right, we value the items on the left more." That's it. That's the whole thing. Okay, yes, there is also an accompanying list of 12 principles behind the Agile Manifesto, and although it would only take an extra 1 minute and 10 seconds, I timed myself, to read those too, let's move on for now. The first thing I want to comment on is all the references to software. When I say that word, many people, myself included, tend to think about lines of code in a programming language. But limiting ourselves to that is about as accurate as thinking that the only type of animal that exists is a dog. No such thing as cats, ferrets, lions, tigers, or bears, so am I. Software is anything that makes the hardware do what we want it to do. We are controlling the hardware with something changeable, something soft. So here's a fun question for you then. What is the world's most popular functional programming language? Is it Erlang, or Haskell, Elixir, or Lisp, or maybe F#? Well, nope. Actually, it's Excel. Excel is the world's most popular functional programming language. Every Excel spreadsheet is someone's software to make their hardware process data in some new way that is valuable to them. And since I've seen reports that 750 million people have used Excel, it might even be the world's most popular programming language entirely, full stop. Anyway, on the other side of things, the systems that we build in information technology are also just more software. We combine lower-level software to accomplish higher-level objectives, and the cloud gives a whole new range of tools at our disposal. Powerful tools that enable us to build much bigger systems more quickly than we could before. Huge opportunity, right? So let me tell you a story. I heard this story from Adrian Cockcroft, and you can watch him tell it yourself on Twitch. It goes like this. A 20-person software development project was 7 months into a 9-month timeline, and it was not going to finish on time. So two people who had had enough of this traditional and clearly doomed approach decided to try building it with serverless cloud technologies instead. They started their skunkworks operation on Friday and finished on Monday, so their team's entire project actually finished a month early. Now, if you're wondering about the math there, it took those two people an extra month to convince the rest of their team that yes, they had indeed finished everything. I think this story really exemplifies agile software development. The old processes and tools weren't working, so these two individuals did something about it. Regardless of what the project planning documentation said, they showed working software after just a few days of effort. I don't know what contracts they might have had, but they certainly did focus on getting the customer what they needed, which was a finished system within the project timeline, right? And although it took the rest of the team a while to get on board, they did all respond to the new opportunity and abandon their old plan. Two people, one weekend. Like we said earlier, it's no longer the big eating the small, but the fast eating the slow. So be fast, right? Cool, but there are two kinds of being fast, and you need to be the right kind of fast. I'm sure you're already mostly with me on this, but it's a really important thing, so it's worth emphasizing. In particular, you're not going the right kind of fast if you're going in the wrong direction. Good fast is about getting to the destination quickly, not about moving quickly. And the destination is about what the customer actually wants and needs, not what we imagine or assume that they do. And this is why the first core point from the Agile Manifesto is individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Processes can never make you successful. They can only make you move quickly. But if you're going in the wrong direction, process will only speed up your progress away from the goal. The most important thing is to aim for the target. Then you will get there even if it takes a bit longer. That's why being agile is all about creating and exploiting a fast feedback loop. Try to learn whether what you're doing is good within hours or minutes, not months or years. This may be easier said than done, but it's definitely never going to happen unless you prioritize it, right? It may seem like a silly comparison, but if you can only turn your steering wheel once a year, you're going to have a very unsuccessful road trip, no matter where you're going. So, for software systems like the ones we and our clients build in the cloud, we need to take advantage of tools and processes like source control and CI/CD as just one example. They're no silver bullet, but the Agile Manifesto does explicitly confirm that there is value in the items on the right, like processes and tools, even if the individuals and interactions on the left have more value. Plus, when we use these tools properly, like using pull requests in GitHub, for example, then we actually force those valuable interactions between individuals. Okay, let's get a bit more concrete regarding Azure. Now, I'm not going to claim that I'm your Azure expert because Azure is actually the next critical technology that I want to dive more deeply into and learn properly. But I do know the serverless space pretty well, and Azure has a solid offering here. In particular, the first thing that most people think about when they hear serverless is functions, to run little bits of code on demand instead of having to set up virtual machines to do that. And yes, Microsoft does offer Azure Functions. You write code to respond to events and then let Azure handle all of the scaling for you. No need for load balancers or manual scaling. Just let them worry about that while you worry about the customers instead. But the functions running code are just one tiny piece of the puzzle. The term serverless encompasses so much more than that and offers dramatically more value than just replacing your virtual machines. Remember that our entire system is our software now, so we'd love to hand off as much hard work as we can to Microsoft. Just like how I will usually make a spreadsheet to crunch a few numbers rather than busting out Visual Studio and writing my own app from scratch. I could do that myself, but it would be a pretty dumb waste of my time. As another example that will hopefully help this really stick in your mind, let's say I want a piece of toast. I do not start that project by buying a field, tilling it, planting wheat, watering it, threshing it into flour, baking bread, and then toasting it. No, I buy a loaf of bread from the bakery, right? And also, I don't design and build my own toaster either. I'll buy that too. Starting from scratch just doesn't make sense. But let's stretch that toast analogy even a bit further. Let's say that I generally only want one slice of toast per week, and sometimes not even that. And let's say that there's a new service in my area that delivers slices of hot toast to my door about as quickly as I can toast them myself. And they charge about what it would cost me to buy 2 untoasted slices of bread. Sounds like it might be more expensive to pay 2 slices of cost when I could make it myself for 1, right? But that's only if I ignore all the other things involved in me making toast. The electricity might not be a huge cost, but it's not zero either. Also, I had to buy and store a toaster, plus I have to spend time and care to operate the toaster and make sure I don't burn down my house, right? But the biggest ongoing waste might be that I have to buy an entire loaf of fresh bread each week when I really only want one slice of toast. I might be able to freeze and save some of the extra for another week, but there will definitely be waste and loads of extra work. And if I have a big toast-eating party, we have those all the time, right? Anyway, I'd have to run out and buy an extra loaf of bread or 3 or 10 or whatever and spend a bunch of time toasting all of those slices 2 at a time because that's all my toaster can do. So, is it all really worth it? No, it's not. Especially when you include the opportunity cost of not spending that time and effort on something that offers a good return on investment. Just like spending a bunch of time and gas to drive to the next city over just to save 12 cents on that loaf of bread, it's penny wise and pound foolish. Now, it might feel like I'm going overboard on this point, but I'm not. The biggest mistake people make when considering serverless, and actually cloud in general, is thinking about their systems in the old way of doing things and then lifting and shifting that mindset here. And that's really about as limiting as planning your airplane flight path along the road network and deciding your route based on street-level traffic. Cloud and serverless offer a much higher level of abstraction, and we need to embrace it for what it is, not for what we already know. Okay, this brings me to an overlooked part of Azure functions. Durable functions. This is the next level of abstraction because it's not just about running bits of code, but rather about managing a stateful workflow. Like maybe you have to run the incoming data through a validation system and then a cleaner service and then give a copy to a real-time aggregator and finally store it in both an archive and a dataset that feeds into your machine learning pipeline. I don't know, something like that. Without durable functions, you would need to explicitly create, store, and retrieve the progress through your data's workflow in some other place. Maybe that would be a database or a specific workflow management service. And that's fine, but why go through the extra effort if you don't have to? This pattern of shepherding data through a series of steps is so common to the systems that we build that Microsoft made it super convenient. It's like instant toast delivered to your door. Now, in terms of your takeaways from my talk, I do hope you have an appreciation for Azure's durable functions, but more than that, I hope that you get a deeper appreciation for what you didn't know that you didn't know, your blind spots. Because the couple of things I've mentioned are by no means a comprehensive list of the powerful new tools that could break your old mindset of how systems are built. All right. We're in the home stretch now, so let's take a look at my tips for how you can move forward from here. My first tip is that whenever you're starting something new, your first order of business needs to be to figure out how to align yourself with the customer and build a fast feedback loop around that. Then, take some steps, even if you're not sure they're in the right direction. There's literally no way to avoid making any mistakes ever, so set yourself up to quickly learn from those mistakes and then quickly course correct before your next steps. This is agile, both capital A and lowercase a agile. Tip number 2 is to invest time into open-minded research to avoid building things from scratch. Sometimes you will indeed need to build it for yourself, but more often than not these days, a bit of investigation into your options will reveal some way that you can shift away the burden to implement and maintain that thing that you need. And not only will that almost certainly be faster to set up, but the people who are providing it can probably do it better and cheaper than you and I can because they'll have economy of scale. But the really critical part of this tip is to keep an open mind, because the service or solution will often look and feel very different than we imagine it will. And that ties into my last tip. Tip number 3 is to learn all the things. Okay. I'm not saying this because Pluralsight helps people learn technology. I'm saying this because I know how critically important this is, and that also happens to be why I'm at Pluralsight. For you personally, work to learn new technologies, lots of them. Learn to improve your soft skills as well. Learn how to mentor and teach others. Learn more about what your customers need and what they want. Learn more about them, who they are, what makes them tick. But this also applies to teams and organizations. Be intentional about having team members learn new tech, even if you don't yet know how you'll use it. That's the point. You'll never know when to use it until you understand it. and then have people learn from each other to both share ideas and foster innovation. Sometimes model that learning after the Skunkworks project I mentioned earlier. Let them try stuff out and see what happens. Sometimes it'll actually work, and you'll get a fantastic return on your investment. And even if it bombs, you'll learn why, and you'll then feed that into future attempts. That's another thing about this learning. Although my main point here is that learning new things is always valuable, I also know all too well that we don't have enough time in each day to learn everything we'd like. So use those same agile principles that we've been talking about throughout this talk. Learn something new, anything, and then assess that learning event to figure out what next thing you should learn and how. Course correct and keep learning stuff. Continuous learning is literally the only way to succeed in a tech career or as a tech business. I've done longer talks on just this one topic, but I'll leave it at this for today. All right, that's all I have to say about that. But I'd love to practice what I preach and get some feedback from you too. Please connect with me on LinkedIn and or on Twitter and let me know your reaction to what I've said. Was this helpful? Did I miss something? Did you fall asleep more than twice? Did I inspire you as I hoped I would? I would like to know. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to join me today, and thanks in advance if you do reach out. But either way, keep being awesome. Oh, and if you're still with me, I'm going to leave you with a small bonus. Very quickly, here are the 12 principles behind the Agile Manifesto. We follow these principles. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Welcome changing requirements even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Deliver working software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months with a preference to the shorter timescale. And as an aside, we can often get even faster these days. Business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need and trust them to get the job done. The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. I definitely covered that one, didn't I? The best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams, and at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. There's tons more to say about each of these, but we'll have to save those for another time. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Oh, and don't try to run out and start that toast delivery service I mentioned. It might seem like a good idea, but you'll probably just get burned.